Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Josh and today I'm here with Russell Kent Nichols to be talking about the brand new firmware on the S1 and how it's essentially made a 2-year-old body become an absolute cinematic beast. So for anyone that doesn't know, the Panasonic S1 was actually released on the 18th of March 2019, so it's been over 2 years since the initial release. And just when this camera started to be forgotten about as a serious contender for hybrid shooters, that's when Panasonic came out with this fantastic firmware that's essentially made this camera stand shoulders above some of the newest competition on the market. So let's talk about the new features at a glance. So let's start off with the fact that it can now shoot 6K internally in body at 10-bit 420 color sampling, can shoot cinema 4K up to 60 frames a second, again at 10-bit 420. It now has 4K anamorphic lens support, which is really good if you are into your anamorphic shooting, so actually de-squeeze your image in camera like the Panasonic GH5 and the S5 can do, and the S1H of course. It can now output 5.9K ProRes RAW over HDMI when connected to the Atomos Ninja V, which is literally the exact same as what the S5 and the S1H can do. The dual native ISO settings are now accessible by the user, which means that you can actually set where you want the dual native ISO to kick in. So that's an extremely good feature for any video shooter that shoots a lot of low light stuff. And of course now it has timecode support, which means if you are someone that likes to sync your audio via timecode, you can now do it with your S1. When you compare what the video specs were like before this firmware update, it was nowhere near as good as their newer cameras were, but now it's hitting the same marks as the S1H's, which is their flagship, video camera, but just shows how much they really care about all the cameras they've released. And it means that if you're going to make an investment into the S series line of cameras, you know that you're not going to be left behind, and you know that they're still going to look after you even 2 years after your initial purchase.
What I think is amazing as well is when I bought the S1 back in 2019, it didn't have any, I was quite happy with the features that were advertised.
Yeah.
So to have new features that match the S1H that I have 2 years later, I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? So we're going to test out some of the internal codecs that we can get from this amazing 2-year-old camera.
So, comparing the S1 to the S1H. So of course now, with this brand new firmware on the S1, the line between the S1 and the S1H has been blurred significantly. It means that there's now features on the S1 that can be reminiscent or even the exact same as the S1H. For example, the fact that prior to the update, the S1 could only shoot a maximum resolution of 4K at 150 megabits per second, but now of course it can shoot up to 6K at the same 200 megabits per second as the S1H can.
I think for me as well, the added value that it's brought to my S1s, I now feel like I have 3 S1Hs pretty much, just 2 that are in slightly smaller bodies and identical features across every camera that I take with me.
And it makes the workflow a lot easier that way, because you know that you can do everything you want to with the S1s as well,
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely having 6K in all cameras and being able to match everything across all 3 bodies. I know no matter which one I pick up, I'm going to be able to get the same result and grade it the same. It's all going to look clean and perfect, and yeah.
So in terms of hardware, they're very similar now as well. I mean, the resolution of the EVFs are the exact same between the two, and the screen resolution as well is pretty much the exact same, albeit the S1H actually has a 10% higher screen resolution, but realistically, you wouldn't tell the difference in everyday use.
Another really welcome feature that I love, when I was comparing the S1H to the S1, being able to trigger recording on the Ninja when I'm recording externally, I can actually just press record on the camera, which then triggers the recording on the Ninja as well, that's always happened on the S1H, but with the S1 I had to press record and then press record on the Ninja as well. Sometimes I'd forget, whereas now that's all done completely automatically, so yeah.
So of course there's still some features that the S1H has that the S1 doesn't. For example, it has a fully articulating screen, which for some is a lot more useful. It has better active cooling with the larger vents on the side of the camera, which means that when you are shooting in the 6K modes, the heat dissipation is going to be a lot better.
And whilst the S1 now has 5.9K and 6K internal recording, the same as the S1H, the S1 does have recording limits of up to 15 minutes in those higher resolutions. So still with the S1H, that wins in terms of the unlimited recording even in 6K.
And of course, that feature in itself is going to be indispensable for those filmmakers that really need to record in those high limits for a long period of time.
Documentaries or interviews and that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that for me would be a massive selling point of the S1H, even after the S1 is now basically its little brother. Whether these extra features are worth it for you and your workflow will decide whether the S1H is worth the extra money compared to the S1.
Value for money wise, the S1 is a steal.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I think a lot of people, when they're looking at, you've basically got little, medium and large now, haven't you, that pretty much do the same thing, just with some minor differences in their capabilities. I think if you were in the market for an S1H, but maybe that was slightly out of budget, the S1 is going to give you pretty much all of those features, but like almost half the price.
Yeah. I think that this in general just shows that investing in a Panasonic camera is a good investment no matter what, because I can guarantee that now, even with the S5 that's still quite a new body, I can guarantee that's only going to get better with age, and you can't really say that for many other brands. Final thoughts. If you're in the market for a new camera that's full frame and that's really good at video, then the S1 now is a more serious contender on your list, or it should be anyways, compared to what it was when it first came out. Now for sub £2,000, you can get a full frame body that can record 6K internally, has the best IBIS in the business, has amazing low light capabilities thanks to the dual ISO settings, and it has every single feature that you could ever need for video production and also photography, because of course the EVF is also fantastic as well.
I can honestly say that I'm so happy with the trio of cameras that I have, and now that they are more consistent in terms of their capabilities, yeah, I'm really satisfied with everything that the S1 can do.
There's literally no other camera on the market for sub £2,000 that can boast the same specs as the S1 can now boast. And of course, you have Panasonic's amazing ergonomics and amazing menu system, coupled with all those great features I spoke about beforehand. So therefore, I can't see any other camera beating this camera in 2021, which is just insane. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it at least somewhat entertaining or educational. And if you did, then please consider subscribing because it helps me out massively. And hopefully I shall see you in the next video. Thank you.